The push to pay reparations to black Californians is well and truly on track to bankrupt Americans. A reparations task force is demanding compensation for years of over-policing, disproportionate incarceration and housing discrimination. But economists have estimated the cost to compensate black Californians could top $800 billion US dollars. Joining us now is political commentator and the great-grandson of an African-American slave himself, Benji Irby. Great to see you. How are you, mate?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Okay, you've written on Substack. I urge people to look up your writing on Substack. Terrific stuff. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us about your great-grandfather, his life, and why you should or should not get reparations, in your opinion.
Well, to be honest, it's really not an issue of whether black people deserve reparations or not. That's actually what I'm expressing in my article on my Substack at benjiirby.com. It's really more so about the Democrats just using this as a wedge issue just to tether black people to the Democrat Party. In my article, I dismantle that legislative narrative around reparations by asking 4 common sense questions. One being, would Democrats, the party of the poor, want all black people to be rich? Obviously not. Why wouldn't Democrats pass reparations when Obama had the Senate majorities to do it? 3, why didn't the Congressional Black Caucus hold up Nancy Pelosi's speakership vote, just like Matt Gaetz did for Kevin McCarthy to get a vote on reparations? And also, how could Democrats be for reparations and not be for school choice, which would give $30,000 a child to black parents, but then want to give $5 million for reparations? It just doesn't make any sense.
Rita?
Well, particularly in California, a state that never had slavery. So you're going to have people who've never been slaves being paid all this money by people who've never owned slaves. I mean, all it's going to do is increase racial tension as far as I can see. But how is this being advanced? How are they selling this to Californians?
Well, there's an all-out media blitz. I mean, you're hearing about it everywhere. And now it's getting to the point that even the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is shying away from actually signing on to this thing because now it's becoming real. I think the whole point of putting it out there, Gavin Newsom knew that he wanted to run for president, obviously. They wanted to get Joe Biden out of the way, which still is a possibility as Joe Biden has not officially announced that he was running. But he was going to use this as a way to get black voters because now in our primaries, the Democrat primary, they've now moved South Carolina, which is a heavily black Democrat state, to the front of the primary calendar. So for Gavin Newsom to do this would make it look good for him, with South Carolina being the first test and not Iowa, which is what it was before. But Iowa was a very, white state. So that's really why he's doing this. But now he's actually pressured to really sign this. And we realize that California can't afford this, which we all knew. Unfortunately, for a person like myself, who, is an ancestor, of slaves, this really is more so an insult. This is not about actually doing anything for black people or doing anything for, American descendants of slaves. It's just more about let's get black people to vote for us.
Yeah, I mean, I love this picture you paint, Benji, where Democrats come up with all these ridiculous ideas for political reasons. Then every now and then one of them gets legs and takes off, and everybody goes, no, we weren't really serious. But I want to change gears here, Benji, and ask you what your reaction has been to the apparent indictment, which we're going to hear more about in a couple of days, of Donald Trump. Now, this is, I think, a similar thing here because the Democrats, surely, they don't want to set a precedent where former presidents or sitting presidents can be dragged up on any tiny charge a politicized prosecutor decides they want to go for, do they?
I mean, this is just so ridiculous. I'm surprised. I mean, at first they were saying they were going to do this. I think what it has done is it's definitely shown Ron DeSantis it's probably about time to get out of the race now because we're all coalescing around Trump. So, I mean, there's that as far as the political aspect of it. I'm just surprised they actually did this because of all the cases they had against Trump, this was actually the weakest. So the thing about Democrats and the liberals in the U.S. anyway is that they're always going too far. They're always showing their hand. They're always going just one step too far. And I think this was one step too far because this is really galvanizing the Republican Party. And I think they're ultimately going to, they're going to regret this. For me, I've always been a Trump supporter. You know, you guys know that over the years. That's never changed for me. So now I'm even more so, you know, with this foolishness happening. I don't think it really goes anywhere, but it just wasn't really smart on their part. I think they let their emotions take over on this one. It makes no political sense.
But you've also moved to Florida, so I know you're a Governor Ron DeSantis fan who's Trump's major challenger. Tell us, what position does this put him in? And he actually put out a very strong statement against the Manhattan DA, said he wouldn't be party to any sort of extradition if he was asked about it. So just tell me what the dynamic is there between him and Trump right now.
Well, I, being a Floridian who literally came here from New York partly because of the governorship of Ron DeSantis, I like Ron. I voted for Ron, but I voted for Ron to be my governor for 4 full years. I did not vote for Ron to use us as a stepping stone to higher office. So at the end of the day, I support Ron, but I support him as my governor. I don't feel as though he should be running for president right now. I think 2028 is a much better time. His kids will be older. His wife had just had health issues. It'll just be a much better situation because I feel like there's just a lot of unfinished business in 2020 that we have to get back done. And it just doesn't make any sense. I think that the people that are pushing Ron are people in the Republican Party who just hate Trump. And I don't think they're thinking about Ron's political future. I believe that Governor Ron has a very strong future. He has a bright future in the Republican Party, but this would be a real misstep. And if he was to go forward with this and end up losing Florida, which can happen, there's a lot of strong Trump support here in Florida, he would have ruined his old political career for what? For nothing. So I think he's realizing that now, seeing that he's going down so far in the polls. So, love your Governor Ron, but this is just not your time. We got you in 28, though.
I agree with that. Just very quickly, Benji, back to the reparations. So just tell us a bit about your ancestor, and I'm interested as well, just growing up as a kid, how big an issue was this in the back of your mind? And would reparations actually make a difference? Obviously a material difference, but an emotional difference to you?
I mean, as far as my great-great-great-grandfather, I just got some paperwork from my mother about a court case that was settled for the land that my family still has. My family still has land in South Carolina that they've had since the end of slavery, and that land was given to my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Hampshire Brown, from the family that owned him. And then my family has had that land and has been on that land for, the last 150 years. And, when I die, I'll be buried there, just like my grandmother is buried there. My great-grandparents are buried there. So, I'll be there too. But yeah, as far as like a personal connection, obviously it's so many years ago, but we have traditions and things of that nature. But as far as how I personally feel about reparations, I heard about reparations a little bit as a kid, like in the 90s. It kind of would like come up, but not really till the last few years has it really become like a thing. It's not something that I'm necessarily against. I mean, why would I be against getting $5 million? Give me $5 million. They're awesome. Yeah, amazing. But what I am against is the Democrats using this as a political cudgel to keep Black people, with the Democrat Party. As I say in my article, if they wanted to pass reparations, they could have done that years ago. They had the supermajorities with Obama in 2009, 2010. But when you have a political party that runs on, Black people being poor, because think about it, if Black people were rich tomorrow off of reparations, we were all millionaires, we then become free thinkers like Kanye. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. Black people would be very hard to keep in line. And if you think about it from a political standpoint, why would I want Black people to not depend on me? It's the same reason why, like, the cancer doctor doesn't want to cure
Absolutely. Benji, I've got to look.
Right.
Sorry to cut you off there. We've got to go to a break, but thank you so much, Benji. Your insights are always fantastic.